We all have expectations in life, whether it's for ourselves, for others, or even the world at large. We all expect something out of this life. Well, in this video, I'll be going over some of those pressures and one way to deal with it. And one of the best characters that really embody this idea is none other than the world's strongest sorcerer of the modern age, Satoru Gojo. So the first pressure is having exceptional abilities and exceptional expectations. And basically means you're gifted or talented. So growing up, I was in a gifted program at school. Now, all that means is that I was a little better at academics to some of my peers, but basically it just means I was, and still am, a huge nerd. Having the label of gifted meant that there were higher expectations of me. And no, it's not a video about me just ranting, I promise, but it's something that I understand some people don't really understand or even know about. That's really having high expectations placed on you from a young age can really change how you see yourself in your place in the world. Now, in Gojo's case, the entire world changed the moment he was born. Curses got stronger just because he was born, and he even had a bounty placed on his head. Now, imagine dealing with all of these things as soon as you're born. You don't even know the world yet. And that really kind of leads into the next pressure, which is living up to expectations. And that's, first off, living up to others' expectations. Really, it kind of starts with your parents. Now, parents expect their children to do well in school, right? I mean, I don't think any parent wants their child to do bad in school, but what does doing well really look like? Is it doing the bare minimum to get by? Is it getting straight A's? Is it somewhere in the middle? How about your bosses or your mentors? Are they putting their expectations of you too high? Sometimes we put so much thought into what other people want us to do, we never get a chance to figure out what we want to do for ourselves. For Gojo, since his time in Jujutsu High, everyone felt like they could just leave things up to him. And due to him possessing the six eyes and the limitless, Gojo was pretty much unrivaled the majority of his life. Well, outside of Geto, Gojo never really saw anyone else as an equal. Heck, even Nanami even asked why they could leave everything to Gojo. So when everyone is looking to you to have all the answers and solve all their problems, how can you not feel the pressure? The next type of pressure is having expectations of ourselves. And that can be just as dangerous as trying to meet other people's expectations. And now I'll admit, I have some perfectionist tendencies. If I don't do things just right the first time, then I'll be so upset with myself that I feel like I'm just a failure, that I'm just good at nothing. And that's why I'm always nervous when starting something new, because I know I'll fail at it at some point, which is to be expected, but that's no reason to not try at all. In Gojo's case, he shouldered the burden of being the strongest for so long that he ended up blaming himself for what happened in Shibuya. And he feels that just because he let himself get captured, he shares just as much blame as the bad guys do. Now, while it is true that if he didn't get sealed, then the entire events of Shibuya would change drastically, but it's not really fair to say that he can't ever lose, or else something like this can potentially happen. I mean, I know I have a fear of failure, but for Gojo, failure means not only his potential death, but the death of countless others. The last pressure of high expectations is honestly a weird one, and it's coping with isolation. So basically, it's feeling like you can't confide in people just because, one, you don't want to let them down. And for me, I never want to let my parents down and be the problem child. And I strove to be the best child I possibly could for them. But I twisted it into my mind to think that I had to be perfect. Now, they never made me feel that way in any sense of the word. But that's how I made myself feel. So maybe it's that, or another reason could be because you feel like people just won't understand you or the things you're going through. Maybe you feel like no one can understand or relate to the pressures you're facing from trying to be successful, trying to be the best person you could possibly be. In Gojo's case, after his battle with Toji, he became the undisputed strongest in the modern era. And this created a rift between him and Geto, and ultimately snowballed into what we have today, with Gojo being the strongest by an insanely large margin, besides a certain forearm cannibal that we won't name here, and no one can even come close to him, again, except for the forearm cannibal, but stop it. And after his last battle, Gojo even stated this: you can admire a flower and help it bloom, but you can't ask it to understand you. Now, what he means by this is that you can never understand something that you can't even relate to. And whether that's being the strongest or even just the best at something can honestly just leave you feeling isolated, like no one can understand you or what you even do. But there is one key thing you can do to crush all of these expectations, and that's doing your best. Yes, it's a cliche, but trust me, just listen. What I mean by doing your best is don't set unrealistic expectations. Don't be like how I was and assume that you need to do everything perfectly. We're not perfect, and we never will be. So don't make yourself miserable by placing these huge expectations on yourself and expect just these things to fall into place. Now, I'm not saying to never have any expectations or just to be lazy, but just give yourself some grace. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you're giving the genuine effort. Also, don't let others impose these ridiculous expectations on you either. It's your life, not theirs, so don't live in the box that others put you in. Like, sure, the jiu-jitsu world basically put everything on Gojo, but in the end, he always fought for himself and what he believed in. He didn't care what the higher-ups thought or what they wanted. Gojo fought for his dream of reforming the jiu-jitsu world by fostering the next generation of sorcerers who he hoped would one day rival him as free. It's good to have expectations out of life. The important thing is to not be consumed by them. Trust me, as someone who used to be a chronic people pleaser, as someone who always wanted to meet people with expectations, it's not a way you want to live. Just try your best, give yourself some grace, and the rest will fall into place. I promise. So if this video resonated with you in any way, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And before you head out, go check out this video here for more content like this.